All right, we are live for our last TL News Night of the season. And Sherry, take it away.
Good evening. Welcome to TL News Night. Like Nikki said, this is our last of the season. It's actually kind of hard to believe we've only been doing this for one school year, ladies. It seems like it's been just a great experience, and we've had some wonderful people on our show each month. And our goal has been to bring you the latest in library news every month, featuring all the different librarians and associations that are working hard all across the nation. Our mission for TL News Night has been to do just that, to bring you the latest in library news and to let you know what's going on and what you may or may not have heard about happening. We want to make sure that we are sending out the best news, because too often we're not always featured in education in the best of light. So if you don't like the news, change it. And that's been the goal this whole year as we bring you the latest from libraries across the nation. I'm Sherry Gick. I'm coming to you from Rossville, Indiana, and we'll give it a little bit across and let the team introduce themselves.
Sure. Right. And before we get there, just know that if you want to ask any of our panelists or have any comments during the show tonight, use the hashtag TLChat
Alyssa,
on
were you
Twitter.
introducing yourself?
We will be monitoring the Twitter feed for if you do have any questions or comments for our special guest. And our special guests tonight are from Alabama, the Alabama School Library Association, my neck of the woods, and they are going to discuss tonight meeting the challenge in Alabama. So let me get out of the slide share and back in where we're seeing all of our wonderful guests tonight and go through and introduce ourselves. And Sherry just introduced herself. I'm Nikki Robertson from Alabama. Sue? Sue is frozen up. Sue Levine is from Georgia, and hopefully she'll jump back in. And Alyssa?
Hi, everybody. I'm Alyssa Malspina. I'm a middle school librarian in South Orange, New Jersey, and soon to be a library administrator. So.
Yay!
Yay! That's an exciting new change for you.
It is.
I am really excited to introduce our guest for the last show of the season, the Alabama School Library Association, talking about meeting the challenge in Alabama. And I'm going to let our special guest tonight introduce themselves. We can start with Carolyn.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Starkey. I'm the president of the Alabama School Library Association. I'm one of the 2 school media specialists at Shades Valley High School. We serve Shades Valley, Jefferson County IB School, and Shades Valley Technical Academies.
All right, Molly.
Hi, I'm Molly Bates. I'm in Russellville, Alabama, and the middle school librarian at Russellville Middle School.
All right, Elizabeth.
I'm Elizabeth Hester at Irondale Middle School, a suburb of Birmingham, and I'm all alone in my library. First year without an aide.
And Shaquila.
I'm Shaquila Blood. I'm the Library Media Specialist of Columbiana Middle School in Columbiana, Alabama.
And you're about to be alone like Elizabeth, right?
I am.
And so am I. We just found out we're losing our aides as well, as so many others in Alabama has. And I think that is a good lead-in for what we're talking about tonight, which is meeting the challenge in Alabama. So ladies, I'm going to go ahead and bring up our slideshow, and we'll just go ahead and start talking about what is happening in Alabama. And it starts off with, it's been a decade of decline. So go ahead and hop in, and let's talk about that decade of decline, what's been going on in Alabama. Molly, I think this was yours.
Yes, there was. Our legislature has basically been on attack for public education for at least the decade. We were moved from being classified as teachers to being classified as instructional support. When they did that, we no longer have a course of study for school librarians or library media specialists in Alabama. And shortly after that, we lost all funding. So we're going on into the next fiscal year will be 9 consecutive fiscal years without any, with zero funding from the state of Alabama for libraries or for technology. So it's been pretty painful for us to go through all of those kind of changes. You know, we already know the only other position in the school that carries the same kind of perspective and reaches the kids like we do is the principal. And that's who we have to collaborate with. That's who we need to have their ear, and we need to know the things that bother them and concern them and keep them up at night so that we can meet those challenges and help them meet those challenges. Working as a partner and peer with the teachers makes us different. We're able to reach them because we're not an administrator. We're not mandating change. We're just a peer with them, and so it's easier for us to reach them.
Exactly.
Oh, I agree totally. Mm-hmm. I think it's important to note that when the legislature originally funded our technology, they did not fund any repair money, maintenance money, support money. So the newest computers in the school are in our school library, and they're going on 7 years old.
Right.
And you know, we're at our wits' end. We're putting things together with Band-Aids and rubber bands. And so, you know, we're open to suggestions as to how we can advocate for more technology in our schools and through our libraries, as well as, you know, fund further publications for our libraries.
Right. Yeah, some of the decline started. This is an old image from SACS, the Southern Accreditation of College and Schools, and back in until a couple of years ago, you say that, you know, there's so many librarians for so many students. However, we are now under the accreditation of advanced ed. SACS joined in with several other accreditation agencies and went under advanced ed, and now this is what it looks like. You know, that we just have enough resources and personnel.
And each system gets to define what they think
Is
defines enough resources, or what adequate means.
Exactly.
Whereas before it was clearly defined with SACS.
Right.
With the numbers.
So that 4.5 and 4.6 in advanced ed are the only places that we're mentioned. Those two standards are the only two standards that cover us at all. So, and you know, and it doesn't say that to reach a level 4 is the highest level in the accreditation process under advanced ed, and that does say on 4.5 that to be a highly qualified library media specialist, or highly qualified personnel, but it goes down from there to level 1 is just the school may or may not attempt to hire highly qualified. So we have a problem where our legislature looks at advanced ed and says, well, you don't have to have it to be accredited. So it's not as important.
Whereas before with SACS, to be accredited, you had to meet these specific standards in order for your library to qualify and not mark you down in the accreditation process. And weren't we just saying, I think I was talking with you guys, that because of the complaints towards advanced ed about the wording with libraries, haven't they now just taken anything out about libraries, or working towards just completely eliminating libraries from any wording?
That's their understanding. Now, I haven't been able to find it in writing yet, but that's what we've been told. But as you can see, we're not in there much for this year's standards.
Right. I mean, we're barely there, and it really gives a lot of leeway for, yeah, which is not good.
Right. Yeah.
Well, this is going to be a problem that's going to be experienced by everyone, because everyone is under some kind of accreditation standards. It's just not going to be Alabama. It's going to snowball as more and more people start working on their accreditation.
Right. For the first time, Alabama has 4 schools that have received a waiver to not have school librarians.
Oh, jeez. Seriously?
Seriously.
That's
so
horrible.
we had been one of the few states in the nation that every school had a school librarian. but now we have 4 schools that have received waivers that do not have school librarians.
Are they smaller schools?
They're not real forthcoming with that information from the State Department, but my understanding is one is in the Birmingham area, so
Wow.
probably not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We talked about the funding earlier and the zero books. Our kids, our graduation's May 30th. We're running, it seems like, a week behind everyone else. But when our kids graduate this week, they will have not had a new book in the library since they were in the 4th grade, paid for by the state of Alabama.
Are you kidding?
Not at all.
Mm-mm.
We've had zero funding from the state of Alabama. The fiscal year 15 it was the 9th consecutive year. So these guys that are graduating have not had a new book since they were in the 4th grade. And our rising 9th graders, our 8th graders going to high school, have not had a new book paid for by the state of Alabama since they began school.
So who is paying for? I'm sorry, I have to interrupt this.
No, that's fine.
I know that this is
Jump right in.
who is paying for right now when you're trying to get books? Is it your district that's having to pay all the money, or are you getting any funding anywhere else?
We're getting no funding from our district. We sell coupon books. We get a small amount from that. I'm getting very good at grant writing. But
You have to be.
we've got over 1,300 schools in Alabama. There's only so much grant money that's available.
So how much, if you don't mind me asking, because this just like blows my mind.
Yeah, please.
How much would you mind each of you telling what your book budget is a year?
Well,
I think that people want to know. Like, this is good for people.
well, in one school system I worked at, my budget the first 2 years this happened was zero because it came from your principal's discretionary funds
Right.
for the school, and they didn't give any funds to the library. In another school, we had about $12,000 out of the principal's discretionary fund.
Right.
Where I am currently, I think we either had 4,000 or 6,000, but it will be severely cut next year. And not only the budget severely cut from there, but we just lost both of our aides, and so it will just be the 2 of us librarians in there. And
Well,
who knows what will happen there?
Yeah, yeah. We've got 1,400 kids in our 3 campuses. We have had $2,000 from grant writing and coupon book sales
Oh my God.
this past year.
Goodness.
I've got we're in a smaller system. There's only 4 schools in our system, 1 at each level. I have about 600 students in my system, in my school, not my system, in my school. My budget is whatever grants I can get, and we sell T-shirts. So this year, my budget was $2,500. But but with that grant, you can only get 2 years in a row. So next year, I won't qualify for the grant. So I'll be searching other grants, and we'll probably be selling more T-shirts.
Yeah, and I'm a small school too, and I get no local funding at all. My funding comes strictly from fundraising that I do at my school, and I write a lot of grants, as the other ladies do as well.
Mine comes from scholastic book fairs, donors choose, crazily collecting box tops. This year we became a Title I fund school and just writing grants, finding money wherever we can. And the local wealthy system has a public library where I go and get free books. And they let me just ransack the shelves and get those books.
Wow.
We're scrambling to do whatever we can do to keep new books in there, but our collections are suffering mightily because
Yes, they are.
we
This
we
year
can't keep up.
I made Jolly Rancher suckers this year that were on Pinterest and made more money from that than any book fair I've ever done.
Really?
Totally off topic, but
Spending your time.
I
fundraising.
went and got, because I mean, I have a budget, and I am like, wow. And I thought my budget wasn't that great, but now after you guys, I'm like,
Anything's better than zero.
I know.
Right, exactly.
I took money and went to using Find Money, but candy at Costco and was selling that, and you make a lot of money selling candy to the students.
True.
They love candy.
Yeah.
They love candy. So if you're
Well,
desperate,
Except for you're not going to be able to with the new federal regulations because that's
Right.
kind of
Yeah. We
right.
can't.
July.
We can't sell any
that.
chips. We can't sell
do.
candy. We
Oh,
can't
man.
sell drinks.
I
So
can't
let's-
either.
Donuts.
And
I can't even have a book fair, so
You
So-
can have a book fair?
no.
So we've talked about the cuts to funding, but then the one other thing we've desperately been trying to hold on to is our Alabama Virtual Library.
Yes.
Who wants to talk about the Alabama
Oh,
Virtual Library
I will.
and
yeah.
why we need it
I
and
will.
what we have to fight every year for?
Yeah, I was just appointed to the board, so I'm excited about being on the AVL board. But the basic problem with AVL right now is that we've had flat funding, right above $3 million for 5-6 years. But the problem is the price of databases is outrageous and keeps going up.
Yeah.
So even though we're keeping flat funding from the state, we're losing databases hand over fist. We just can't afford them. And so, and while the economic situation is what it is, I don't know that if we're ever going to be able to get those databases back.
Right.
Right, and definitely with no funding, none of our schools can afford to buy these databases on their own.
I mean, we
For a
can't
lot
do it on our own.
Right. For
And
a
that's
lot of
what
the
has
schools.
become our reference collection for the most part.
Yes.
I mean, that's really, we haven't been developing the reference collection because we've depended on the virtual library. Well, if we lose AVL, we're really in trouble.
We're really sunk. Yeah, we really are. And we haven't added a whole lot of nonfiction these past couple of years. But and another thing that's really causing us pain with AVL is that the state legislature have changed the way we're funded. We have to spend our money by the end of September every year instead of giving us a little rollover for the next year. And so, we've been having to take that money to purchase ebooks with our collection, which is not bad because then, we can get some reference help. But eventually, if the cost of databases and ebooks keeps going up, we're going to be in desperate straits, I'm afraid.
Right. And so one thing that we do as a library organization, and I'm bringing up that PowerPoint right now again, Elizabeth, and I think this is where you can talk about what we try to do every year to save what little bit we do have, which is the Alabama Virtual Library.
Well,
Legislative Day. Can you see those slides?
yes, I can
Okay.
now. This year we decided that I love to bake, and I just thought it would be fun to bring cookies to the legislators because that's all I could think about with trying to get their attention. And so a couple of other librarians and I went down there, and I had a speech all prepared and everything. And little did I know that I would be preaching to the choir because it was all a group of state librarians, and I think we were some of a very few, maybe there was one other school librarian there because there's also a law in Alabama, and I don't know if this is true in other states, where you cannot take a professional day or any kind of day away from school to go and legislate anything.
Lobby, yeah.
Lobby. I took a personal day and went down there, and we just tried to hit up every legislator that we could and speak to them and pass out cookies, and they had the cutest label that Carolyn had made, and we had the Declaration for the Right to Libraries on one side of it, and then information about Alabama School Library Association on the other side of it. And it was a lot of fun, and we want to do it every year, and we hope that we've gotten some attention from that, and then we'll just build on it next year to try and gain some funding and get some attention.
And so we found a couple of different things like reading is a skill, not a natural talent. that children need the opportunity, support, and time to read, but if we're completely annihilating libraries like we are, children aren't going to have the opportunity, support, or time to read.
No.
But despite all these cuts, we are librarians, and we are going to find a way to make it work. And so, Elizabeth, I think you put in these slides about some
Yeah.
things that you have been able to do, even though you're piecemealing together what you can do, what
Yeah,
you've
some
done.
of the things I've done is through going to national conferences, I find out about a lot of companies that have contests that go on, and I get on their email list, and they send information, and I jump on all those contests, and I've gotten several things, everything from books to author visits, and I've had one free author visit on Skype, and then I've had another author visit that was super cheap that I paid for with Box Tops. It was $300, and that guy was all the way from Australia. But I'm
Wow.
really good at being resourceful like that and just trying to make a dollar stretch in the library. So the next big thing for me is using websites like Donors Choose and crowdsourcing everything from my friends and contacts in Alabama. And this year I was able to get a 3D printer that way. I got on Donors Choose, and family members and friends donated money to get a 3D printer because I had to have one after going to AASL and hearing this one librarian talk about her 3D printer and everything she was doing on Instructables.com. So I think that's a good way to get the word out there that libraries need money is crowdsourcing
Right.
funding.
Doing different
And-
book fairs I see you have up here as well.
Yeah, I've teamed up with Barnes & Noble for about 5 years, and I've had kids come and do choir presentations, arts and letters night where they read poems that they've written, and parents come, and the whole idea is an in-store book fair where parents come and purchase things, and then we get a gift card from 20% of the sales, and we've put on plays, and we've had just faculty hangouts, and that's done well. And I know Shades Valley has done that before, and they've gotten I think about $1,000 from Barnes and Noble
Before my
from
time,
your summer reading. And that's a great way to get a lot of money, because if you direct people to Barnes and Noble, then you can get that 20%, because everybody has to buy their summer reading, especially if you have a school like the International Baccalaureate at Shades Valley, like Carolyn has.
yeah, the English department are hurting for money also, and they did their own summer reading this year. We were very disappointed.
Oh no!
But the point is to get the books in the kids' hands, and
Right.
so
you can
that
still do something for your faculty where everybody goes and has coffee and cheesecake, and we do it kind of close to the holidays, close to the winter holidays, and everybody goes and buys everything from candles to DVDs to books and stationery and Christmas cards and Hanukkah cards and whatever else.
sounds fun.
Coffee.
Yeah, I'll see.
And even
Books
if
A
you get
Million will do that.
$100 gift card. Yeah, Books A Million will do that. And if you can't go there, some of those bookstores will come to you, and they'll set up an in-store book fair. But that really has to be if you are a school system where kids are loaded down with cash in their pockets. That wouldn't work at our school. We have to go there.
Ours
Right.
either. No, we'll have to go there.
Yeah.
Kathleen is saying on Twitter, what's wrong with principals that they do not give you money for a budget? I don't get it. And, sometimes it isn't up to
I don't have
the principal doesn't have any money either.
They don't exactly.
They can't afford to keep copiers in the school, and so there's no copiers, there's no
Right.
ink, there's no paper to print with if you did have ink for the printers. And so it's this whole thing of where are we going to put this little amount of money? And it really doesn't go to the principal. It doesn't even go to your school district. It goes right back to the legislatures and
Yes.
the way that they are voting. And every time they are voting against education and against libraries. And I think we have a slide in here Mark Twain. I think this quote is great. Who wants to?
Yeah, that was me. No lie. I
I
love
love
Mark
that.
Twain, and of course he
My
has something
daughter's
regarding
reading it
this.
right
But
now.
no man's life, liberty, or property are safe while the legislature is in session, and that's been very true for us in Alabama. Um, I could have put up a laundry list of legislators that have voted against public education in Alabama in the last 4 years, but the ringleaders are these two. The Senate Pro Tem, Del Marsh, and the Speaker of the House, Mike Hubbard, especially Mike Hubbard, because obviously there are more House members than there are Senate members. He has them so under control, the ones that are of his party and came in when he came in as Speaker. They wait for him to vote, and then everybody votes what he votes, and they're not reading the legislation. And we've heard that from multiple legislators on the floor, that they go and ask questions, and they're not reading them. They have no answer. They can't answer any questions about any of it.
Can we get some Twitter handles so we can get our whole audience to tweet both of these legislators that are not supporting your libraries, and we can get some crowd support, because we've got a lot of people online right now that are listening, and they are outraged with what they're hearing.
That's a great idea, and what we can do is we can put that up onto the wiki. We can get all their contact information and put that up on the wiki. And, I mean, it's a shame that your children can't have books in their library unless the librarian is collecting freaking box tops.
Exactly.
That is just insanity. It is wrong. It's completely wrong that that's doing. Here's the latest study. I don't think that the way they're voting, they don't realize this.
No, they don't. And part of this article, my quote takeaway from this article was to try teaching a child how to swim in an empty pool.
Yeah.
Try teaching a child how to read in an empty library. Try teaching them literacy skills without a librarian, with an empty library. We're hurting our kids, and the study goes on and on to say how much we're seeing the positive impact with those struggling and weakest students who do not have the resources at home. And that's becoming more and more the norm in our area, because parents are more focused on food on the table than they are books and things in the house. So it's really up to us as school librarians. The literacy of our state very much rests on our shoulders, and our hands are so tied with zero funding that we're scrambling to do the best we can, but we know we aren't doing what we should be doing or what we could do.
And with so many of our schools in poor rural areas, there's very little big city areas or richer areas in Alabama. Some of the only books children do come in contact with are those books inside their school libraries. And if you don't have those school libraries, if they're not well staffed, if they're not well funded, it's just going to continue to hurt Alabama across the board. And when, when our legislators are voting, they're not thinking about the fact that they're not going to have workers that are going to be able to go into the workforce, and we're going to lose companies because they won't want to locate here because we won't be able to provide them the workforce they need. And it all starts by not funding libraries. If you fund your libraries, we're going to have those students who have access to information, access to reading. Their scores across the board, every study that's ever been done, well-funded, well-staffed libraries, their test scores are always higher in schools with those, and they're always lower. Your library is the heart of your school, and if you take that out, the rest of the school withers and dies.
You're right.
Absolutely.
And our business council in Alabama is also a challenge for us to get them to understand. They see us as a business, and we're suffering through the effects of No Child Left Behind, and where we graduated a generation of test takers instead of a generation of thinkers. So as we're working to correct that, though, the Business Council says, okay, your end product failed in the last several years, so we're going to start enacting all of this legislation, and we're going to make all of these decisions that will force your end product to be better, without understanding that it takes funding. And it's not that we have been slacking or not doing our jobs. We've been doing exactly what we were told to do by the federal government. But now we're seeing the results of that, and now we have the new curriculum, and we'll see the positive results, but it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight.
You know, and you get back to the technology thing, which is my soapbox lately. They're asking us to graduate children who are digital literate,
Right.
and we don't have technology to do so. In our school, we have 4 computer labs. 3 of them are federal labs that most kids do not get to step foot in. The other lab is the library lab. As I said, our youngest computers are 7 years old. We're down to 13 computers.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
all that's still going, and there's, I think, maybe 20 left in our laptop cart. And so we're being asked to do an impossible task without the appropriate equipment.
Carolyn, can you clarify what is a federal computer lab? I'm not familiar with that.
It's funded by Career Tech.
Okay.
Career
And so-
Tech money, and it's used for the Career Tech classes,
Okay.
and for no one else. It's just for Career Tech.
You can't just stop by a homework assignment. You have
They
to be
have
enrolled
classes
in
in
that
there all day
class.
long. Yeah, yeah. Yes, yes.
Right, and at a school I was at previously, after this whole budget thing went into play, we lost our computers too because they would just die. And you had to remember, it's the technology and libraries received zero funding for now 8 full years. Next year will be our 9th year. And the computers we had in that library in the first place were ones that we got at government auction that the military base got rid of because they were too old for the military base to have them, and we purchased them to put into our school. That's what
Wow.
Alabama is dealing with.
Right. Yeah. And and that's another change that we're facing is our previous technology plan for the State Department required that your infrastructure and your hardware be less than so many years old, or it came off of the inventory, and you were required to have ample supply. I don't remember the ratio right off the top of my head. The new technology plan does not require that. There is no date, there is no age out on computers or on hardware at all.
It used to be under 5 years.
Right.
Oh,
And was it 1 in 40, 1 to 50 kids? I've forgotten the ratio for how many computers to kids, but
I don't
because it
remember.
was a
I don't-
10-year plan,
Yeah.
so when it first started, it
Yeah.
was in like 2000. So, but yeah, our new technology plan does not have anything about aging out computers or
Well, I
hardware
think
at all.
they do want to, everybody wants to move to the one-to-one
Yes.
technology.
You know,
I don't know if it's a
we
pipe
just
dream.
want a few computers for our kids to use. We're not greedy. They don't have to be one-to-one. You know, we just
Well-
want enough for them to use for a little while.
You know,
They
and
could
our,
share, couldn't they?
yeah, and I guess we should be fair in that the legislature did pass in this last session to try and move Alabama to a one-to-one, but they only allocated a certain amount of money that everybody has to apply for, and they're giving those priority to what they have already labeled as high priority schools. So
The
you know,
rest of them are
it's-
going to,
with the
Have
rest
to
of us are
regulate
not
them.
going to get that, and I think there's only like 13 high priority schools. So out of 180 something school districts, that's not going to go very far.
No. Are any of y'all getting any Chapter 1, Title 1 money?
We are in our district, but I'm not.
Yours. Okay. I'm sorry to say, our feeder schools are Title 1 schools, but of course we're not.
Right.
And so they've got a little more than we do, but
not much.
not much more. Not
No.
much.
Craig wants to know, what are Alabama schools doing to partner with public libraries, since we're so short on funding?
They're just in as bad shape as we are. Some of them are even worse. They're losing staff even more rapidly than we are. And
I do partner with them, though.
yes, we try to share programs and things where we can. And
Yeah, mine
but
came
what
in
all are you
today.
doing?
Well, mine came in today, and she dropped off a selfie contest where kids can enter a selfie contest and take 10 pictures. One picture is with their librarian, and it's happening June 9th. And she has great prizes. Usually they are giving away things like an iPod Touch or a Kindle or something like that. And I spread the word to all the kids. And it goes through 12th grade, but I've partnered with her on a couple of grants because a couple of grants in ALA you have to have a public librarian and a school librarian to be able to be considered for the grant. So I've done that in a
Some of
couple of things.
the better funded libraries, in the larger cities are seem to be doing okay for the most part. But the little country library with the one librarian and the little bitty storefront library,
It's like in my
they're
town.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
really hurting. They're really
yeah,
Yeah.
hurting.
that is
And
so true.
And we do partner with the Russellville Public Library, but they do very little. They do a summer reading program, and so I do promote that and encourage the kids to go, and we do collaborate and work on that some, but they don't do programming through the year, and we have really a larger selection for our young adults than the public library does to interlibrary loan. I cooperate more with the local university, with the University of North Alabama, and interlibrary loan from there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, and
great.
I partner with the local library, and actually, some of my students serve on a teen advisory board with the public librarian, and my students help her plan activities that the teens would like. And she's had several movie nights and author visits, and I promote that through my school in order for the kids to go. So,
I've met that librarian. She's really super, isn't she? She works hard. I
Yes.
like her.
I love our public librarians. We work with our public librarians too in Hoover, and they just had a really nice luncheon for all the public school librarians. The public library had a really nice luncheon and gave away a little pack of books and a whole table full of Gigi's cupcakes, and so it was really it was really nice. I like working with them, but we do have them in our schools often, and we try to promote whatever programs they're doing. We try to promote those in our library as well. Also, our public library and our school library use Overdrive, and so we try to also coordinate with them to make sure we're not spending money in the same exact places. If they've bought this book already for Overdrive, then we'll buy something different so that we can get the most out of our money there as well. So definitely collaborating with our local libraries is important.
And we're very fortunate to have some very, very great academic librarians at local
Yes.
colleges. And, for our IB kids, the University of Alabama in Birmingham has provided great support for our kids there. And so give a shout out to them.
Yeah.
That's true. If you're lucky to live in a college or university town, we do depend on their Department of Ed a lot
Yes.
for this. All right. Well, guys, we've kind of fired people up. I saw that, let's see, Julie Murphy, using the hashtag TLChat, has put up Speaker Hubbard's Twitter handle.
Go,
So you might
Julie.
want to
Really?
blow up Hubbard's Twitter and just tell them shame for making
Shame.
libraries use box tops to be able to get books for our children. Remember, our
Exactly.
students in Alabama, if they are graduating senior this year, have not had a new book since they were in the 4th grade.
That's insane. I think that needs to get out. Like,
Yeah. And our children entering high school this next fall will not have had a new book purchased by the state of Alabama since they began school.
Yeah.
so students entering high school have not had. I just wanted you to say that again.
It is. It's
Again.
mind-blowing, isn't it? Our rising ninth graders, our current eighth graders, have not had a new book purchased by state funds since they began public school in Alabama.
Oh my God.
Going into high school next year.
And textbooks are sort of at a loss too. I mean,
Right.
our kids use textbooks until they are on their last leg.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they
Let's
send
say-
them to the library and expect me to magically put them back together when they fall apart. You know, there's only so much you can do.
Right.
Right.
But Carolyn, we work magic, don't we?
We do.
You are a librarian.
Librarians just make books appear. They just appear. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we are going to now go on to our next segment. I know this is a really great conversation, but we want to do our wrap up of this month in school libraries. So Sherry's just going to talk briefly about TL Virtual Cafe webinar that was presented by the wonderful Jennifer Lagarde.
She is awesome.
It was a great webinar. I hope everybody had a chance to, if you weren't with us live with Jennifer, that you can check out the archive of it, and the notes and everything are there. Jennifer talked about Show Me the Data and connecting the dots between the library and student learning. One of the points that she emphasized was too often as librarians we don't always take the time to look and see what's going on outside of the library, and to make sure that our staff members and our administrators know what we're doing, and that our focus is not just on our library, that we're connecting with them and making sure that our resources align with them. And so as we're drawing to the end of the school year, for many of us, a lot of us do end of the year reports, but instead of just focusing on how many books we checked out, you know, some of those things that we think are so awesome as librarians, but instead connecting, you know, what types of collaborating did you do with different departments? What types of lessons did you help support? And showing how those books, what kinds of books were checked out? Why were they checked out? And so really kind of getting a little bit past the numbers and making your data meaningful. And also the bottom line, Jennifer's told us this several times, every time she presents, make sure that you know what's keeping your principal, you know, what's keeping him awake at night, what is his focus, and you make sure that your library is supporting that in every way possible, so that you are aligning with your school's goals and opening the doors and the walls of your library to make sure that you are a valuable resource and that everybody at the school knows it.
Yeah, and you know what, Sherry, we had the honor at ASLA, the Alabama School Library Association, of having Jennifer Lagarde as our keynote speaker last summer for our summer conference, and so we just loved her and adored her.
Yeah. She's wonderful.
We'll go ahead and give a shout out that, you know, she is our keynote speaker for SIGLIB ISTE breakfast. I hope everybody has their tickets because it's officially sold out. So there may be a black market for those tickets at this point.
I cannot
I hope
believe
I do. I can't
She
remember.
is an awesome speaker. She truly is.
Very inspirational. Well, okay, so going on to TL Chat Live, and there is, so let me tell you before we leave, TL Virtual Cafe Webinar has one more show the first Monday of June, and I think Gwyneth doing it?
Gwyneth. Digital images. I just saw that. Yes.
We haven't seen
Shout out
Gwyneth all year.
she's been hiding out on
I've
us.
missed her. So we do have that, but then after that, we will all be in full swing, or most of us will be in full swing of summer break. So we will not have another TL Chat Live or a TL News Night until September. So the last TL Chat Live last week focused on reflections and predictions, where we reflected on some of the great things that we've done in our libraries this year, some things where we stepped outside of our comfort zone and tried something new that we maybe learned through our connections on Twitter or through listening to webinars or through shows like this one and connecting with others, so that, you know, we stepped out and brought something new into our school, and we talked about how it went, what we were going to try again next year. And so then that's the predictions is, what's something you're going to try that's going to put you outside of your comfort zone next year? Have you ever presented at a conference? If you haven't, why don't you do that? Go ahead and apply to present to a conference and do something again that takes you outside that comfort zone. Elizabeth got that 3D printer, which I am cannot wait to see in action. Right? I can't wait to see Elizabeth's 3D printer at our ASLA conference. And there's so many other things like, Alyssa, didn't you get some bots recently for
I
coding?
did. I got some Spiros, which have been a lot of fun to play with. And I also just got a 3D printer through Donors Choose and some HSA money. And let me tell you, I've been having so much fun playing with it. And I'm going to be so sad when I have to leave it in a few weeks.
You're going to have a happy librarian that takes over for you. All those goodies.
I know. They don't understand what they're getting. I'm like leaving all my toys.
And how hard you work to get them.
I did. I really worked hard.
Right.
I killed myself for that 3D printer, and now I'm like, I'm going to use it every day until I leave.
And so, Alyssa, that transitions right on into you with upcoming school library news.
Yes, we have some things coming up. I think the biggest one is one that Sherry sort of mentioned. ISTE is coming up, and we have some great presenters. We have Jennifer is doing our keynote breakfast, which I cannot wait to meet her and see her and hear her talk because she is so inspirational, and I know everybody's going to leave pumped up. There are a few of us that are doing the SIGLib Forum, too, so if you guys are not, that's Monday at 4 o'clock, Nikki and I and Michelle, who's not here, and then Tiffany are going to be doing the SIGLib Forum, and we're going to be discussing marketing your library and how you do that. So we're going to give some good examples of that. ALA is coming up too. Sadly, same time as ISTE, which is, we could spend a whole hour talking about why we think that should not be the case, because
That's right.
you can't go to both, and so it, sadly, that's a problem. But there is ALA for people who want to go to ALA. And I mean, those are the two big ones that are coming up in school library news right now. It's sort of summertime, so it's a very good time in the summer to sort of catch up on if there's any ed camps going around. Like, I'm going to be hitting up, there's an ed camp STEAM coming up in New Jersey that I'm going to hit up. There's also like a PAD camp, sort of ed camp New Jersey one that is coming up that I'll probably try to go to. So if there's one in your area, try to hit it up. Free professional development, really good resource. And because you can control your learning, you can totally put in a topic that you want to learn about or learn more about. And then, as we all know, Twitter is probably the best professional development out there. So, start tweeting, continue tweeting, and connect with some librarians, find some new librarians to connect with and learn from, because, and catch up on your reading. I highly recommend, there's a great digital leadership book written by Eric Schlesinger, who is the principal at New Milford High School. I love him. He's written this amazing, heart him.
It's the Sat Chat book for the summer, right?
It's the Sat Chat book this summer, and you can join the Sat Chat group. They're doing a book read on it, a book study on it. And honestly, read the book. Very good resources, even if you're not, like for digital leaders, but our librarians are digital leaders. So read that. You will learn from some really good people about, good ideas there. Those are some that are coming up off the top of my head, sort of.
Okay.
Can I give one more shout out? We mentioned ed camps. I want to give a special shout out if you're anywhere near Michigan. Nerd Camp, the second year for Nerd Camp in Michigan, is coming up in July, and Colby Sharp and Dirty Book Club, Donalyn Miller will be there. It's not just a one-day event. This year it's going to be a day and a half, so it's going to be a really big event. So if you can make it, we'd love to see you at Nerd Camp.
And who's nerdier than librarians?
That's right. Dirty Book Club. Hashtag.
So, all right, I'm going to go back into the slideshow because we did talk about some of the really horrible things that these two guys right here have done to libraries and to education in general in Alabama, and shame on them.
I don't like them.
Right, they're horrible. Print those out and throw darts at them. But anyway, we're going to go into our highlights now. Shakila, and I'm really happy that Shakila could join us here tonight because what I love my library association. Alabama School Library Association does amazing things, even though we're fighting against this terrible situation with libraries right now. One thing that we do, and Shaquila is going to talk about this, is we work with librarians in our state and even in surrounding states to get them nationally board certified. So Shaquila, if you want to jump in and talk about how we do this with our association and what we've done so far since this started.
Okay, in 2002, we created a mentor group for national boards. We realized that teachers going through national board, they have peers in their building that might be going through it also, that they can talk to and help each other understand the questions and what's being asked in entry. And most of the times the librarian is the only one in each building. So this mentor group was created to help give librarians a support going through the process so that they're not alone, that they can work with someone. And there's a lead mentor that actually works with the library media specialist. They meet once a month and they discuss the entries. They go over the different questions to help understand them better so that the library media specialists that are actually candidates can understand what they're being asked to do in their entries, in their videos, and whatsoever is that. And it's just so that the ladies and gentlemen that are candidates can have better understanding and they can feel like they have support, that they have someone they can email or they can text and say, what does this mean? And that's basically what it was formulated for, to give candidates support and help support them through that process. And we really look at it as professional development, just as we would go to a conference, but we're meeting monthly to do that. As of this year, we have 86 nationally board certified library media specialists in the state of Alabama.
That's impressive.
Right. We think
that's
a lot.
That is a huge amount.
Yes. And one thing that the state of Alabama does do for national board certified teachers, they give them an extra $5,000 a year toward their salary. And the first year that they certified, the state of Alabama gives each librarian that certifies $5,000 to use in the library for books or technology or whatever they're going to use it for within the library. But that's basically what it is. What we do, we mentor candidates through the national board process, and we're always just really excited. I think this year we have 5 that has gone through the process and has just submitted all of their work, and we'll see in November how well they do. But it is amazing what this group does and the benefits from it, and just how more relaxing the process can be, although it's a lot of work, but you're not alone in the process, and that's what we do.
Right, and Shaquila, if I'm not mistaken, there has not been a single librarian who's gone through this process with our association and turned in their product to turn in for the national boards that has ever not received the national board. Is that correct? That's gotten all the way to the point where they turn in their parts?
Right. Nobody has ever dropped out. They've all gone the whole 9 yards.
Right, and been approved. And I have up on the screen, I hope you can see it, Tawana Burton, didn't she start this mentor group?
Anne-Marie Pippin started it.
All right, Anne-Marie.
And Tawana took over when Anne-Marie retired.
Has been a driving force, and now you've taken over. So it's just so important. And I can't tell you guys, this is so incredible what they do. Helping to support the national boards, and to have somebody every single month that you can take in what you've been working on and have an expert look over it and tell you if you need to change something or add something. It gives you that confidence to keep going on month after month as you try to get that national board certification. And then Molly, another great thing we offer to our Alabama School librarians is our summer conference. So I'm going to let Molly talk about that real quick.
Okay, yeah, I'm conference coordinator as president-elect, and it is June the 2nd, and it will be at Shades Valley. It's actually at Carolyn School, Shades Valley High School, Jefferson County IB School, and something technical school. They have way too many campuses combined in one over there. We have nationally known keynote speakers coming. Jennifer Northrup, who is the sidekick of Jennifer McGard, will be coming as our keynote. And our State Superintendent of Education, Dr. Tommy Bice, will come back for his 3rd consecutive year as our lunch keynote. So even though we face our challenges, we are so blessed and thrilled to have Dr. Bice in as our state superintendent, because he does support us. And he attended our conference last year. He came in the morning. It might have been a scheduling error. We won't go into that. But he did attend some sessions, and it really gave him another perspective, because he heard Jennifer LaGarde speak. And it was really great. And he even said in his keynote that she said some things he had not realized before. So he fights to keep library enhancement as a line item in the state budget. Even though it's 0, at least we're still a line item, and there is, the hope there that we will get funding someday. If we're ever removed as a line item, that hope will dwindle very rapidly. So we're excited to hear from Dr. Bice and what's coming up and what he expects of us, so that we can hopefully keep our jobs. We're doing a SmackDown for the first time this year. Thanks to Nikki on that. We have about 18 sessions right now, concurrent sessions that will be in 3 different session time frames by local and national presenters. So we're really excited about the conference and open it up and hope everybody comes.
And I think one thing, too, that's great about our conference that we've done every year is our conference is the day before the Alabama Educational Technology Conference. So we make sure that we have that library tech connection there, so that librarians coming in will also be there for the technology conference as well and be an integral part in that. And I think that's super important.
Yeah, we always hold it in the same city or where the tech conference is going to be, so that we can help facilitate that travel.
Right. And have those connected. Well, guys, we have 4 minutes left, and usually at this time we have our title, tool, and takeaway, but I thought we could do something a little special since this is our last show of the season. It's been a really incredible experience for me to work with this wonderful crew here. And let me see if I can find the right tab. I've got so many dang tabs open over here. Yikes. All right. But I did want to give a heartfelt thank you to our guest who had the faith in us to get on the show that had never been aired before, starting with our New York Library Association, who are our very first Library Association guest in September. And they started out talking about cuts to school libraries, and it seems to be a very common theme throughout our show all this year. I am happy to say after New York was on, they did receive some more funding for libraries, so them getting on air and talking about it, I hope, had something to do with that. So I love our New York people for being brave and stepping out and into new territory and being willing to go with that. Texas was on, Vermont was on, Georgia's been on, Washington State was on. We had a special spring break edition. If you did not see that one, it was a hoot with Andy Plemons, Shannon Thompson, Stacy Ford, and David Hilgendorf, who were our librarians, and that was a pretty fun one. And then, of course, our Alabama School Library Association. We could not do this show without the input from our wonderful state library associations from all over this country. And libraries and students couldn't do it, educators couldn't do it without us, librarians in-house working hard every single day. So thank you to everyone for that. All my co-anchors, I love you so much. We had a couple tech problems tonight, and so Shannon and Michelle and Sue couldn't get on, but that happens. we just keep rolling anyway. But you can see here we have already, our calendar is filling up for next year. Our first guest in September of the new school year will be Indiana.
Woo!
After that, Jersey will be in the house.
Yay, Jersey in the house!
Then we're going to go all the way out to California in November with my wonderful friend Jane. And then we're actually going to bring in British Columbia in January 2015 and Iowa. So we still need people for March, April, May, September, and October.
I like the international theme.
Right?
I think we put it out there now. International librarians, if there's anybody listening to you, like Australia, I know they do
Australia, yes.
Australia or New Zealanders, anybody is welcome.
We would love that. Oh, I want to see some Hawaii.
We have some Hawaii friends.
Well,
We have some Hawaii friends.
We can have Linda back on with her
I'd
roosters.
love Linda and her roosters on.
But if you want your library association to be on the show, just type into any search engine TL Newsnight. Scroll down to the bottom of our page, and right here is a form that you can fill out to be a TL Newsnight contributor. Make sure you put in the contact person's name, email, and phone number, and one of our wonderful TL anchors will get in touch with them. So we are now time is actually up. So any of our other anchors, since this is our last show of our inaugural season, does anyone else have anything they want to say before we leave?
I want to say, Nikki, we could not have done this without you.
Exactly.
You are amazing. You have put this whole thing together, and you are the woman. I mean, it is really all Nikki. We just come on and have fun and, like, join you.
That's true.
You know, it's been an amazing year, and I have learned so much from everybody, and it blows my mind to hear the things that I'm hearing, like from Alabama tonight. And you know, I think that this is a great format because we're really being able to get out there so that other people can learn about, you know, what's going on in Alabama and other places. And you know, Nick, you rule.
All right, and we've seen changes. Washington and Vermont as well. When they came on, after they came on, they saw extreme changes in the legislation towards their libraries as well. So I'm hoping that tonight, with Hubbard's Twitter blowing up, we're going to get some changes.
We are working on that.
But anyway, I'll see all of you at ISTE, hopefully, or some of you at ISTE, if not at other conferences this summer. Don't forget that TL Newsnight and TL Chat Live will be off the air until September of 2014, but continue to use the hashtag TL Chat all summer long, 24/7, so that we can all stay in touch and learn from each other this summer. And that's all. That's a wrap. Yay!
Yay!
Enjoy the summer.
That was fun.
Thank